Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Sports Talk with Brodes. This is pretty disgusting, isn't it? The fact that this is the NBA product that we are consistently watching at this point. We should not be watching a starting five of Tyrese Maxey, Matthias, Mike Scott. Now, Joel Embiid returned to this game, and who was the third guy that I'm missing? Oh, yeah, Danny Green, the guy who couldn't find the damn bucket tonight and literally missed every wide open opportunity that he had. But this should not be what we are experiencing. Just a couple weeks ago, we were super juiced up every night, ready to rock and roll, watching good action, and this is putrid. It really is, and it's a shame that the NBA is allowing this to continue. There needs to be some sort of message sent, and I don't know what that is, considering some games are getting postponed and other games are going on, and on top of that, you're getting $25,000 fines for not putting Ben Simmons on the injury report. What are you trying to do? And it does suck, by the way, that Ben Simmons has some sort of knee issue. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious. Hopefully, we get sort of an update soon, because I'm a little concerned. Anytime I hear something about Embiid or Simmons at this point, I get nervous. In this game specifically, Joel Embiid left the floor. I held onto the chair a little tightly until I saw him just moments later return. Maybe he had to go to the bathroom. Maybe he had to do something else. It looked like he was chewing on something. Maybe he was hungry. I don't know. But as long as he's not injured, that's all I care about. Now, we are broadcasting live from the Manscaped Man Cave. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. I'm bothered because it kills my vibe. This is now 2 games in a row where they essentially get blown out. The final score doesn't tell the full story in this one. The Hawks were up 30+. The second quarter was embarrassing. The Sixers couldn't really find a bucket. The run was insane. There was a 30-10 run. Then it turned to a 45-12 run. The Sixers couldn't score for over 5 minutes. They were looking for a field goal. This is after a nice first quarter, actually. They were up 32-28 after the first quarter. Joel Embiid with 16 points. He had some nasty footwork. He looked like Olajuwon doing whatever he wanted to. We actually saw the Twin Tower concept. Dwight Howard and Joel Embiid on the floor at the same time. We saw a dribble handoff between the two. I was honestly blown away. Seriously, a dribble handoff. Here's Dwight Howard, who gets a wide open lane to the basket, and he essentially throws it off the backboard way too hard. It was an awful take. It looked hideous. We should never see that again. But I wonder if we're ever going to see those two on the floor at the same time. It reminded me of what we saw when the Toronto Raptors and the Sixers played in that heartbreaking series when Nick Nurse went with Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol out there to try and throw a different look to the Sixers. I always question at the time of the signing of Dwight Howard, will we ever see that? Well, I think tonight it was more of you don't really have anybody else. You don't have much, so why not just throw a ton of different things out there on the floor? And I thought Lloyd Pierce knew that. He told the team, go out and run. Go out and run up and down. Go out and do whatever. Just constantly be running because they're going to get tired out. They don't have a lot of bodies. In the first half, the Atlanta Hawks had 17 fast break points to the Sixers 0. It was a totally different game. So Joel Embiid, as I mentioned, started out really hot, 16 points in the first quarter, and from there he couldn't really find his rhythm. In the second quarter, he was getting double-teamed a lot. He wasn't making a lot of his shots. He struggled passing the ball sometimes out of the double team, so it was just ugly, and he only logged about 23 minutes until Doc Rivers realized, hey, let's pull the plug. We have a game tomorrow night against Miami. We're probably going to need you there. This game is a complete blowout and a waste of time, so just sit your ass on the bench. We'll move forward. Tyrese Maxey, only 2 turnovers in his 31 minutes. I'm impressed with some of the things I saw offensively, as we should be. I keep talking about that first quarter because it was very impressive from the team. 7, 3, and 3 was his stat line, but what he did defensively was crazy. Now, I saw many moments in the entire game where he was working Trae Young. Not an easy task. A very tough assignment. He had an insane block out by the perimeter. He looked sort of like Ben Simmons. It was almost as if he was watching Ben Simmons' defensive tape. We've seen him do that plenty of times. Well, Tyrese did that in this one. And also, there was a play where Trae Young wanted to drive and penetrate the lane, and he would attack the rim. As he went up, Tyrese Maxey staying with him 100%, and he swats his ass out of bounds. Not only that, how about a little poke defensively with a steal from behind? Now, they called the whistle, and I don't know if the broadcast ever told us what happened because no one really knew what was going on. It looked like a weird stoppage of play, but he had a nice poke from behind defensively as well. He brought it there, and that's really nice to see that he has that in his bag. Not that it is surprising. I think we can all admit at this point he essentially has every aspect of the game down. It's just about improving and learning the game at this level and building his body and getting stronger and adding weight and things of that nature. But he has all of the intangibles that you need to be successful here. Trae Young is not an easy player to defend by any means. He's pulling up from like the logo, and you're thinking, come on, you're going to take that shot. Okay, I guess you are going to take that shot, and it's going to hit nothing but net. But you got to be impressed from what he did on the defensive side, as well as some of his moves offensively. I'm watching him break down defenders with the ball in his hands. It's wild, and it's really great. And he's taking long jump shots as well, which only adds beautifulness. But he's not turning the ball over a lot, too. It's hard to operate when you only have one ball handler out there, right? I mean, there's really only so much you can do. Danny Green was missing everything, as I mentioned. The pick-and-roll defense got destroyed. How many times, and it sort of looked like what we saw last year, how many times would they use the pick-and-roll, get a big guy going in the basket, and here's Trae Young throwing the ball up, and Clint Capella would dunk it in, or anybody. It wasn't necessarily always Clint Capella, but they utilized that alley-oop game and constantly destroyed it. I didn't think that they were very active defensively from that aspect. They were outscored 32-15 in the third quarter, 37-18 in the second quarter. Oh, Sixers shot 22% from three. They got beat pretty good on the offensive side of the glass as well. There were times where there were 4 Sixers defenders in the paint, and then somehow the ball finds Clint Capella wide open for an offensive rebound. He'd kick it out. They would drill the three. It was a mess. And it's defeating. It really is, knowing that you're going into these games with not enough players, not enough bodies, and not enough skill. How are you supposed to be mentally engaged? I know it's your job to go out there and compete at a high level and act as if that's not an issue, but seriously, this team was winning a ton of basketball games. They were starting out red hot when they were healthy and when they had their players available, and now all of a sudden this league is forcing teams to just play with nobody. And then what are you supposed to do with this? What is this supposed to be other than the head coach getting some time to see players play extended minutes? Isaiah Joe knocked down some three-pointers. It was nice to see him score about 18 points in 20 minutes. He finished with 4 three-pointers, so that was definitely impressive and nice to see that he was able to knock down some dots. He did that last game early on. The first quarter, he knocked down 3, and from there, he only knocked down 1 bucket for the remainder of the game. This time, a little bit of the opposite. He knocked down shots as the game went on. But what are we supposed to do with this? And now, teams are going to have all these wonky regular season records that are irrelevant to who they are, and it doesn't really tell a story on what type of team they were throughout the 72 games because, well, it's full of nonsense and full of garbage. I know you got to put the product out there to your best of your ability, but at some point, when are you going to put the season on pause or, just hit the reset button? Or I mentioned this earlier, not today, but I mentioned this after yesterday's game, or not yesterday's game, 2 days ago? I don't know. I'm losing track of time. Their last game, there was a reason why you planned to have a second half of the schedule released after the first half. So if you need to postpone games, it's easy to do it. You can mess around with the schedule and you can move pieces around, and it's easier to maneuver squads and maneuver matchups that you need to get. Why force it? And I feel like now it's just being forced. Seth Curry obviously tested positive. Doc Rivers said he had one bad day, but he's doing well from there. We don't know much about Shake Milton and Tobias Harris and Poirier and these other guys that, due to contact tracing, can't play. But if this is going to be a long period of time, Kevin Durant missed a handful of games. And what happens if they play a team that tested positive? Now, are they going to be in a scenario like Bradley Beal, where Bradley Beal had contact tracing because he played Jason Tatum? It's just really snowballing down into this really bad time, and they're trying to make it seem as if this is just the bad days, and once we get through the dark times, everything will be good once it reaches later months. And I don't know if that's a great philosophy. Now, I do see the track record of the NBA and say they are normally strong about these type of things, and they normally do keep their players first in their mind when it comes to safety and health. So why would I believe now they're being awful about it? But I can't help the way that I feel. My gut tells me, even though they've made good decisions in the past, it doesn't mean every decision they make is the best one. And right now, I look at this league and go, this is a joke. Is anyone seriously having fun watching these games? Is anyone really committed to their team right now? I was so excited to have Sixers basketball back, where we would break down these games and be excited and watch Ben and Joel play and see the improvement and see Seth Curry and see what this team was, right? We didn't know when we saw it for a little bit of time. We were teased with 7-8 games or so, and then all of a sudden it was just blown up, and here I am watching 5 minutes of no buckets in the second quarter. I'm watching dribble handoffs between Dwight Howard and Joel Embiid, and last game I'm watching Danny Green play point guard, and he's not someone who can really put the ball on the floor and generate any sort of offense. So it just bothers me. It really does. Like, they play the Miami Heat tomorrow. This was supposed to be the stretch for me to really check out what this team was. What's their identity? Can they match up against these great opponents? It started with Brooklyn. Then it was Denver. Then Atlanta, who's a nice, exciting team, right? DeAndre Hunter and John Collins. We know about Trae Young. They just have a really nice team, right? Herter, who's a guy who finds ways to knock down an elite amount of threes, especially against this team, and how they match up against a former coach in Lloyd Pierce. Miami, 2 games. This was it. This was all about seeing what this team is made of and how they can play the game. And can Seth Curry shoot 60% from 3 when they go up against a team like Miami who can play at a high level? But what are all these other opponents throwing out on the field and on the court as well? It's just so annoying, and I'm so irked and irritated. They're getting blown out constantly. How come all these other teams are getting different treatment? It's almost as if they're trying to target the Sixers. They're unhappy with how the Sixers are doing things or how they've done things in the past, but they have their radar blinking on the Sixers. They're getting fined. Come on, they're getting fined because Ben Simmons wasn't on the list. I told you this. I felt Doc Rivers was flipping off the league. He was making a statement. You're going to make us play? You're going to make us play with how many players? Joel Embiid and Ben, they're not playing. And this was almost the league throwing a haymaker back. Oh, yeah, you're telling me they're not playing? And that's why I question with this Ben Simmons knee thing, is this them trying to cover up the middle fingers that Doc Rivers sent to the league, or is there something actually there? I think there is something there, but at the same time, knowing that this is all up in the air and knowing that you're just throwing slop out there anyway, that it's an opportunity to really baby the situation, and it's an opportunity to look and assess and to make sure that everything's good and to give Ben as much time as possible, I guess. But, there's a common theme here with these two guys. Ben, we've been through this in the past. He had the back injury. He had this injury. He had that injury. The bubble happened. It was a mess with Joel Embiid, the back. I thought that's what happened when he went to the locker room. I thought the back was causing him some issues. It was irritating him because he put himself to work. He scored 16 points. He was making plays happen. They had no answer. Once they brought the double team, it started a whole new issue for this team, and it goes back to a very common theme that I mentioned, spacing. When you don't have spacing, it's a lot harder to really be in that double team passing out. But when Seth and Danny Green is actually hitting a shot, and when the guys are out there, it's not ironic that here's Joel Embiid kicking it to the outside, getting that hockey assist, kicking it to the wing, and then it's pass, wide open shot. because spacing adds such another element. Spacing is the reason why this team looked so successful early on. When you don't have that, and when you don't have skill out there, when you have a lack of talent out there, go ahead. Go ahead. Double team Joel. It's a lot easier of a decision. All right, I need to let you guys know about my friends at DraftKings. While the holiday season may be over, the sports calendar is in full swing. From collegiate to professional sports, there's no shortage of action, and there's no better place to get in on all the action than with DraftKings Sportsbook. To celebrate this year's football playoffs, DraftKings is giving all new players the chance to bet on any of their weekend's professional football games at 100-1 odds. That's right, all you have to do is bet $1 on any football game this weekend, and if your team wins, you cash $100. While we're all excited for football, let's not forget the 2021 basketball season has tipped off. So head to the app now and check out all the daily odds boosts. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to get 100-1 odds on any football game this weekend. That's code Brodes for new players to get a shot at $100 on any football action this weekend. For a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I actually saw some Sixers fans out there disgusted that they couldn't find a way, that they can't beat these bad teams, that we're making excuses. How are we making excuses? Really? If you feel that way, that this team should still be able to compete and dominate these teams, well, then you're foolish. It's not reality. Matthias in the starting rotation? Mike Scott in your starting lineup? I mean, come on now. Using some of these bench pieces the way that they do, like, you're so limited. You can't expect Joel Embiid. That's another thing. People are mad at Joel Embiid as if he's not taking it upon himself to dominate the game and to take over, and it's his fault that he's not putting up 50 points and 20 rebounds and just destroying squads nonstop. And there are some mad at Doc Rivers for taking Joel Embiid out of the game, essentially waving the white flag going, I'm done. I'm giving up. I mean, can you look at the circumstances? Can you realize what we're playing with here? There is no way in hell I can ever criticize Joel Embiid for this specific night or Doc Rivers for doing this. First off, it's a back-to-back. What do you want to... Do you want to attempt... First off, it was like a 30-point game at one point. It got so ugly. In the second and third quarter combined, they got insanely abused and essentially ran out the building. Now, in the fourth quarter, the Sixers started making some shots, and the game was over, though. The score doesn't really tell you how the game played out. But look at it from this perspective. What are you supposed to do? Throw Joel Embiid in there for 40-plus minutes, 30-plus minutes, high 30 minutes to go try and steal a victory when you know you have the Miami Heat tomorrow night? I mean, the logic just doesn't stand for me. So I'm truly shocked, although I shouldn't be, because Sixers fans sometimes are nuts and insane and dumb, if you will. Yeah, I said that. Sometimes they're dumb. And I can never, personally, ever criticize anyone, really, tonight for the loss. Now, I can say that Danny Green needs to be better. I can say that Danny Green needs to make shots. There was a point where they were in this game. They were getting wide open looks, and Danny Green wasn't making them. But Danny Green wasn't the difference in coming back from 30 points. You lost this game because you don't have enough talent, because you don't have enough bodies, because running up and down the floor for this long is not sustainable. So from the aspect of how the game was coached, or from the aspect of the outcome of the game, I can't get angry at people. Little things throughout. Like, yeah, I can be upset that Danny Green wasn't knocking down shots, but this is what you're going to get from Danny Green. It's just reality. He's going to go through 5-6 games of knocking down shots and actually being a difference maker, and then he's going to make plays for you defensively, and then there's going to be plenty of moments where he goes 0 for 6, 0 for 7, 0 for 4, 0 for 3. I mean, this is just who Danny Green is. So why expect him to be anything different at this point in his career? This isn't expecting something different from a 24-year-old. This is a 30-plus-year-old veteran who has been this for many, 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 many years. He's not changing. His identity is already laid out. His play is already what it is. It would be different if we're talking about a Tyrese Maxey who's growing and learning on the job. And I can't stress it enough how valuable these minutes are and how impressive he really has been. It's like every single day I'm more intrigued by his takes to the basket. I'm more excited for how hard and how quick and how fast he is and how explosive he is to the rim. You can't stop him. You really can't. I mean, his will to get to that basket is so damn lethal. And then off the bounce, off the dribble, he's making plays nonstop. I remember he was on the right side of the court, and he has a defender in his face. He is literally just breaking him down, and it's a nonchalant mid-range J. Sweet, nothing but net cash. And then he trots his way back. He's definitely, absolutely going to earn himself legitimate minutes and a serious role as he continues to play throughout these COVID-19 games, as I like to call them. What does this mean for Shake Milton? What does this mean for Danny Green in the rotation? What does this mean for the starting rotation? If this continues, how do you keep him out? How do you keep him out? I mean, I'm not going to the far extreme of, this guy is going to be this forever. Like, he's going to have rookie moments. He's going to have tough times. He's going to have some matchups where he looks defeated. Now, he ended up winning the battle against Jamal Murray. And I think defensively, he showed you some really awesome traits against Trae Young that goes off against a lot of guys. Now, he limited him for some play. He had some moments, but he limited him. It's really tough to do that. I'm torn. I'm stuck in an area where, he's going to push. He's going to make that push where Doc Rivers has a serious decision to make. At the same time, you know how I operate. I need time. I need a length of time before I'm ready to commit. And I just think he's so raw that, he needs to just keep building off of this. That's all. He'll eventually get there. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. I'm not even denying it. It'll eventually be where he is in the starting rotation. Does he deserve to be it now? Because I saw when this team was clicking and I saw when this team was available to play, that starting rotation was on fire. They were lethal. So would you change that? But what does that mean for Shake Milton's role? He's committed to that six-man role, it seems. Does that six-man role change? Do you flip-flop that? Does Tyrese Maxey, does he end up being that sixth man? And does Shake Milton be that seventh guy? Does Furkan Korkmaz now be eliminated completely and more be a back-of-the-bench kind of guy that gets his number called as much as Isaiah Joe would in normal play? I mean, I don't even think the guy should be on the court. You have that. The one thing he gave you was shooting the basketball. Well, Shake Milton, I know he's struggling from three, but if Tyrese Maxey and Shake Milton, if they can give you three-point shooting, well, then you have your Furkan and some. Now, Furkan's shooting it from 40+, so that's a little bit different, but what these other guys give you from a ball handling standpoint and a defensive standpoint, does that make up the difference? I could argue that Furkan at this point is almost out of sight, out of mind. But I've been saying that for years. He wouldn't even be in my damn organization if I was the one making the decisions. And I mean that. So I do want to get your thoughts. Are you even paying attention? Are you even watching? How do you watch? Are you so laid back? Do you care about the outcome? Or are you specifically looking for Tyrese Maxey? Are you watching just for little things here and there? You're trying to have some takeaways, because that's what I do. I have my laptop. I have it on my lap while I'm watching the game on the couch, and I just make lists and bullet points of, all right, Tyrese Maxey, things I loved out of him. Dwight Howard, Joel Embiid, okay, they're both out on the floor at the same time. I'm just looking at little things, and Isaiah Joe, okay, he knocked down some shots. The pick-and-roll defense, that struggled. It's not necessarily the outcome, but I'm definitely still committed to watching, but I'd be lying if I said I'm as juiced up, because the whole point of regular season basketball for me is to see what trends will occur all season long, and how does that impact playoff basketball? What trends do I see that I know will be utilized when we talk about serious basketball? What type of sets will be ran for Joel Embiid? Where is Ben Simmons going to be located when Joel Embiid is in the post? Everything in 72 games this year is all about bigger picture, postseason. What can they apply to half-court sets? Now it's almost like, okay, yeah, I can see what they can apply for the future of this team, like a Tyrese Maxey, but it's not the same. It's just not the same. And I don't know when this is all going to be fixed. I don't know when this is all going to change, but I know it's not going to be anytime soon. What I do know, though, is if you're a homeowner and you're looking to make an adjustment or an addition to your home, Orban Energy and Power is the place to go. With over 20 years of experience in the industry, they are home to your solar experts in residential and commercial projects. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely. They offer flexible financing solutions such as $0 down. In addition, they will make sure you receive all the state and federal incentives available for switching to solar. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. Their information is all down below. It was nice to see Mike Scott play, though. One of the big issues with this team is the lack of the 4 position coming off the bench. You have Tobias Harris, and of course Ben Simmons can always slide to that point forward, power forward role, but they did need that help. There was a game a couple nights ago where Tobias, I guess it was that game against the Wizards, that they let the Wizards creep back in. It should have never happened. Toby played like 41 minutes, and he has to play that many minutes because with Ben Simmons and him, like it's hard to juggle that position between the two. Well, Mike Scott being an option to help stretch the floor out, and that's something you can do. And I also wonder, is Dwight Howard playing the 4 something you're going to see more often, or is that just because, look, you are just throwing things out there? I tend to lean that's probably what it is. You'll see it again eventually, I'm sure, but I don't think it's something that they're seriously committed to, although I could be wrong. Something I'm going to keep my eye out on. I could totally be wrong. I feel it was just because of the bodies out there. But Mike Scott, just the fact that Mike Scott is back and he's available, I think that will be big for whenever everybody else is coming back to play and all that. But sheesh. It's a nightmare and it's a disaster. There's no denying it. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.